Number 10. Path of Exile. Path of Exile was brought to us by an independent company, Grinding Gear Games, who are based out of New Zealand. The easiest way to sum up what Path of Exile is, I think, is like this. Path of Exile is what Diablo 3 would have been if the guys at Blizzard had not gone all corporate on us. The game is notable for its very interesting and unique skill system that is actually very much like Final Fantasy XII. What is so cool about this is that the player has a chance to develop unique builds, and thanks to a well-designed item system, you can put specific skills to various items by using gems. This game is just full to the brim of customization. The game is not at all deep in the story department. It takes place in a dangerous wasteland-type looking place called Rayclast. You have been exiled to this place, and now must do all you can in order to survive. Many games of this type do not have a deep story, and this one follows suit. Path of Exile does have a pretty cool art style, but the game's graphics are not going to blow you away. Had the game been a little more polished in the presentation department, it may have placed a little higher. Number 9. Firefall. Although fairly recently launched, Firefall is still worth of a place on our countdown. Firefall is a very interesting action RPG that lets you play in both first and third person. Red 5, the people behind this game, have certainly crafted an amazing game from both a PvP and PvE point of view. The game is criticized for many of its battles having all the same kind of feel, but this was really harsh. The game is just so engaging, and no matter if you're trying to win a battle, or take something from aliens, or defend something from them, you'll be on the edge of your seat the whole battle, that is for certain. Firefall, as well as being fun to play, got a great deal of attention for its setting and story. Set in the future, humans are trying their hardest to keep at bay a devastating alien force known as the Chosen, who want Earth and the whole human race dead. It is up to you and some buddies, or even strangers, to work together and let those aliens know they've tried to take over the wrong planet. This game just has such an epic sci-fi big budget movie feel to it that you will really find yourself heavily invested in this war. Number 8. Neverwinter. Cryptic Studios, the same publisher of Star Trek Online, is responsible for bringing us Neverwinter. The game is based on the same engine as Star Trek Online. Many people criticize the gameplay, saying that much of the time this felt more like a single-player game and that the combat, while satisfying, offered no real challenge. Well, while this may actually be partially true, the fact is if you are wanting a quick, no messing around action MMO game that is also mixed with a Dungeons & Dragons attribute system, then this is for you. Just do not expect to be playing this for months on end, but it is a wild ride while it lasts. Neverwinter, despite its faults, won many people over with its story. It's perfect for those of you who love Dungeons & Dragons lore. The presentation of this game isn't too shabby either. Sure, it will not make your jaw hit the floor, but if you're a player who likes to have a great deal of customization over the characters, then Neverwinter will make you very happy. The player-created content will ensure that if you do get hooked on the game, that the community will be active for quite a long time. Number 7. Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online is not a perfect game. Let's say that right now. I absolutely despise the business model practices led by Perfect World International, the guys behind this game. But I still found myself putting a ton of time into this game and having a great deal of fun as well. The game actually has 2 gameplay styles. One where you actually control your space shuttle, train your officers, gain new skills, explore the galaxy, and of course fight other spacecrafts. The other part of the game takes place when you land on the planets. Now it turns into a third-person action game where sadly the action here is not perfect, but you can get through it. You can try and act diplomatic, or you can just go in and take whatever action you deem necessary. I think it's fair to say that you need to be a Star Trek fan to get the most out of this game. The game looks and sounds good, but if you're a Star Trek fan, you'll appreciate all the little details that are scattered throughout the game. The game has a great storylines for which Star Trek fans will just be flat out awesome, but even if you aren't a diehard fan, you'll still find them interesting enough. Sadly, Star Trek Online is pretty out of line with what they want player to pay to get some of the premium content, but there is still more than enough fun to be had without spending a single penny. Number 6. Terra. I will admit that I'm not a huge fan of the recent influx of Asian MMORPGs. While I did love the awesome castle siege that Lineage 2 had, but for the most part, the majority of them to me felt like they had static combat. Thankfully, Terra from Bluehole Studio is one of those few Asian MMORPGs that have escaped the clutches of static combat. The game really does have this amazing and dynamic combat system. It's really quite epic when you're in the deep into the moment of battle. The gameplay by far is Terra's strong point. It has clan versus clan and PvP arenas that are just both so fun to play thanks to the amazing combat system. Add to this an interesting political system, and Terra will keep you busy for a long time. Terra from a presentational point of view is just pure eye candy. Seriously, this game is very nice. But sadly, the story is really hard to get into, and the quest system is bland and will really struggle to keep your interest. But thankfully, the combat is so much fun it gets you past this. It's just a shame that they couldn't have made the game more interesting from a story point of view, as if they would have done this, it would have stood a good chance of breaking into the top 5. Still, despite its flaws, Terra does have a very dedicated community, and if you put the time into the game, then you will definitely really be hooked. Number 5. World of Tanks. World of Tanks is the king of lobby MMOs. Actually, we can go a step further than that, because in a short space of time, World of Tanks has become one of the most popular MMOs all over the globe. It really has managed to take that step into the mainstream that so many other MMOs wish they could. The reason for this popularity is its well-crafted game mechanics. Wargaming.net, the guys behind this game, have managed to craft a game that works for gamers who want an arcade experience, and also for gamers who want a simulation-based one. They really do walk this fine line perfectly. One of the coolest things about World of Tanks is the way that the game features a persistent war. Player clans can fight it out for territories, which if they're successful, will bring premium currency and other bonuses as well. One thing I got a kick out of was once you die, you're not out of the game. You simply just jump in another tank and get back to the war. World of Tanks is a great game that ticks all of the boxes of what makes a fun and engaging MMO game. Number 4. PlanetSide 2. PlanetSide 2 from Sony is the sequel to one of the most popular MMO FPS games of all time. PlanetSide 2 pretty much gives us shooter fans everything we've ever wanted in an MMO FPS game. This game is just so huge in scale that it's just staggering when you first play. The game lets you, as the player, take part in many different roles. Each of the factions that you can play in has numerous different classes, but there's also tanks and flying vehicles that you can use to try to turn this massive war in your faction's favor. Epic is a term that is way overused in video games these days, but the battles in PlanetSide 2 can be described in no other way. There is no messing around in this game. You are dropped into battle and then it is time to rock and roll. You would think that with the huge amount of players in a battle, that the game would take a hit in the presentation department, but that couldn't be any further from the case. This game is just amazing to look at. No matter if the battle is happening during the day or the night, it looks amazing. Sadly, the story of why these 3 factions are fighting is not at all that interesting, and the way that the territories change hands so fast means that it's hard to build up any real loyalty to one faction's cause. But if you're just looking for pure action, you'll struggle to find a better put together MMO FPS than PlanetSide 2. Number 3. Darkfall Unholy Wars. Now, take a moment to imagine the amazing EVE Online, but with a fantasy theme. Well, that is what you get with Darkfall Unholy Wars from Adventure SA. This really is just one cool as ice game. It boasts great dynamic combat, player-owned cities, player-driven economy, and a really interesting and well-thought-out crafting system. Darkfall Unholy Wars, for all it does right though, does have a couple of flaws. Most notably, the interface has had a few changes, and these can make it a chore to use until you get the hang of it, but it's not as bad enough to turn you off from the game itself. The game setting is really cool. While most of us who enjoy MMORPG games will have played a vast amount of fantasy-type ones, I really do think that the dark and brooding setting of Darkfall Unholy Wars does set it apart from the rest, and to put it bluntly, the game just looks flat out cool. The game has had its critics, but if you take the time to actually play the game, then I'm sure it's great settings and fun once you get the hang of it. The gameplay will really have you under its spell. Number 2. Guild Wars 2. No doubt there will be more than a few raised eyebrows that Guild Wars 2 from ArenaNet is not our number 1 spot, but we still think it's one of the best games of 2013. Guild Wars 2 has fans at a fever pitch that has not been seen since the launch of World of Warcraft. Gamers are just frothing at the mouth to get their hands on this. The game, from a gameplay point of view, is just so well designed. It has amazing combat, and the way that the fast content navigation works, in addition to the really cool dynamic events, makes sure that this is one of those games where a half an hour drop in and play turns into a full-on all-night gaming session. There's just so much content here that you are really getting a great deal with this game. The game also has done some work that makes it by far the best theme park available right now. The new features that have been added really do make a difference. Many people forget that the RP in RPG stands for role-playing. Well, that is the case here. You really do play a role in the fantastic and engrossing story that unfolds as you play Guild Wars 2. You may think that this is the same fantasy-type story you've seen before, but it is just so much more than that, and it's a story that has to be played through in order to appreciate it. The art style of this game really does bring the story to life, and even just still screenshots, you can see this is one of the best looking games that was released in 2013. Number 1. EVE Online. Let's face it, if Guild Wars 2 was number 2, then you knew there was no other contender for the number 1 spot other than EVE Online. This game is so huge in pretty much every regard that it is really hard to talk about in a single paragraph. This sandbox MMORPG just evolves each year, and so far has been an incredible 20 free expansions that have been released. The game has a phenomenal 300,000 active subscribers, which results in EVE Online having one of the most dynamic and active communities of any MMORPG. No matter what time of day you fire this up, there's going to be a ton of people to play with. It's just jam-packed with all kinds of features that make it one of the most interesting MMORPGs you could play. Even at 10 years old, EVE Online shows no signs at all of slowing down. What turned so many players on to EVE Online was that it came out at a time when fantasy-style MMORPGs were all the rage. EVE Online is just like a dream come true for fans of sci-fi. The art style looks like it fits right in the middle of Star Wars and Star Trek, and the whole universe the game is set in is just so full of so much stuff to do, and you'll find yourself playing this game for hours on end and still only seeing a small amount of what the game has to offer. Its sandbox gameplay style means that this really is a game where you can explore the galaxy and do whatever you want. So here we are, folks. These are the top 10 MMORPG games we have chosen for this year. Don't like our top? It's fine. Tell us your favorite MMORPGs in 2013 in the comments section located below. Or let us know what games you're looking forward to in 2014. Thanks for watching, and have a happy new year.